The city was a suffocating labyrinth of shadows and secrets. Fear, a venomous serpent, slithered through the hearts of its citizens. Justice was a flickering candle in the wind, easily extinguished by the powerful and corrupt. The police, meant to be protectors, were often the perpetrators of injustice. They preyed on the weak, their badges tarnished by greed and brutality. This was a city where the innocent trembled and the guilty thrived. In the heart of this city's underbelly, within the cramped confines of a slum, lived Ravi Chaudhary. He was a simple mechanic, his hands calloused but his heart pure. His world revolved around the rhythmic clang of metal, the pungent aroma of engine oil, and the smiles he brought to the faces of his customers. He was a beacon of hope in a community ravaged by despair. His honesty and integrity, a stark contrast to the darkness that permeated the city.
My shop is my sanctuary. Here, honesty is not a weakness, but a badge of honor. I treat my customers like family. My price is fair, my work impeccable. I believe in earning an honest living, unlike those corrupt officials who exploit the city's poorest.
One sweltering afternoon, Inspector Bhardwaj, a man whose reputation preceded him like a foul stench, swaggered into Ravi's shop. The air was thick with heat, and the oppressive atmosphere seemed to mirror the tension that was about to unfold. Bhardwaj, his eyes gleaming with malice, demanded a hefty sum as protection money. His voice was a low growl, dripping with menace, as he leaned over the counter, his presence casting a long, dark shadow over the small shop. It was a common practice, a parasitic tax levied by corrupt officers on local businesses. Many had succumbed to this extortion, their spirits crushed under the weight of corruption. But today, something different was brewing. But Ravi, his heart pounding with righteous anger, refused. His hands trembled slightly, but his voice was steady. He had always lived an honest life and would not bow to intimidation. The shop, his livelihood, was a testament to his hard work and integrity. He had always lived an honest life and would not bow to intimidation. The walls of the shop seemed to echo his resolve, standing firm against the tide of corruption that threatened to engulf them.
I will not pay you anything. His voice was clear and unwavering, a beacon of defiance in the face of tyranny. I have always lived honestly and will not bow to your intimidation. Each word was a nail in the coffin of Bhardwaj's expectations, a stark reminder that not everyone could be bought or bullied.
Bhardwaj, accustomed to unquestioning obedience, was enraged by Ravi's defiance. His face contorted with anger, veins bulging as he struggled to contain his fury. This was not how things were supposed to go. A cruel smile spread across his face as he threatened Ravi with dire consequences. His words were laced with venom, each syllable a promise of retribution. The shop seemed to darken, the air growing heavier with the weight of his threats.
You will regret this. His voice was a hiss, a snake's warning before the strike.
Bhardwaj stormed out, leaving a palpable tension hanging in the air, heavy and suffocating like the humid air before a storm. The door slammed shut behind him, the sound echoing like a gunshot in the stillness. The weather outside mirrored the storm brewing within the shop. Heavy and humid, the air was thick with anticipation, storm clouds gathering on the horizon, promising a deluge. Ravi stood alone, his heart still racing, but his resolve unbroken. This confrontation had changed everything, setting the stage for a battle that would test the very fabric of his being. That night, as the city slept under a blanket of fear and indifference, Bardwaj exacted his revenge. The streets were eerily quiet, the only sounds being the distant hum of traffic and the occasional bark of a stray dog. It was in this unsettling silence that the wheels of a sinister plot were set into motion. Ravi's shop was ransacked, his tools strewn across the floor. The once orderly workshop now looked like a war zone, with broken equipment and shattered glass littering the ground. It was a scene of chaos, meticulously orchestrated to frame an innocent man. Planted evidence, packets of illicit substances, were strategically placed. The officers under Bardwaj's command moved with practiced precision, ensuring that every piece of false evidence was perfectly positioned to incriminate Ravi beyond any doubt. Ravi was dragged from his home, his pleas for mercy drowned out by Bardwaj's triumphant laughter. The neighbors watched in horror, their faces pale with fear, but none dared to intervene. The power of Bardwaj's influence was too great, and they knew that any attempt to help Ravi would only bring trouble upon themselves.
Please, I have done nothing wrong. Ravi's voice cracked with desperation, his eyes wide with terror as he was shoved into the back of a police van. His mind raced, trying to comprehend the nightmare that was unfolding around him.
Your pleas mean nothing. You're going to pay for your defiance. The officer's voice was cold and unyielding, his eyes devoid of any compassion. It was clear that mercy was not an option.
In the bowels of the police station, in a damp and dimly lit cell, Ravi endured unimaginable horrors. The air was thick with the stench of mold and decay, and the walls seemed to close in on him, suffocating him with their oppressive presence. Bardwaj and his cohorts, their faces contorted with sadistic glee, unleashed their fury upon him. They took turns, each blow more vicious than the last, their laughter echoing through the narrow corridors of the station. They beat him mercilessly, their blows landing like thunderclaps against his frail body. Every strike sent waves of agony through him, but Ravi refused to give them the satisfaction of hearing him scream. They demanded he confess to crimes he did not commit, their threats echoing ominously in the suffocating darkness. The interrogations were relentless, each session designed to break his spirit and force a false confession.
Confess, and this will end. Refuse, and it will only get worse. The officer's words were a cruel promise, a reminder that Ravi's suffering was far from over.
I am innocent. I have done nothing wrong. Ravi's voice was hoarse from shouting, his throat raw and aching. But he knew he had to hold on to the truth, no matter the cost.
The darkness was unrelenting, and Ravi's cries for justice were swallowed by the void. Outside, the city continued its indifferent slumber, unaware of the innocent man's suffering within its heart. The night seemed endless, each minute stretching into an eternity of pain and despair. Yet, even in the depths of his torment, Ravi clung to a fragile hope that one day the truth would come to light. Days turned into nights, each one an excruciating eternity. The walls of the cell seemed to close in on Ravi, the silence only broken by the distant sounds of the city that had turned its back on him. Each passing moment felt like a lifetime, a relentless reminder of his isolation. But Ravi refused to break. His spirit, though battered, remained unyielding. The bruises on his body were a testament to the physical pain he endured, but they paled in comparison to the strength of his resolve. Despite the pain, despite the fear gnawing at his insides, he clung to his innocence. He knew that his truth was his only weapon, and he held on to it with every ounce of his being. The bars of his cell were not just a physical barrier, but a symbol of the injustice he faced. He knew that to confess would be to betray his principles, to succumb to the darkness that engulfed the city. The city, once a beacon of hope, had now become a place where corruption thrived, and Ravi's stand was a defiant cry against it.
I won't give in. His voice, though soft, carried the weight of his determination. It was a promise to himself, a vow that he would not let the darkness consume him. I can't, not to them. The words were a mantra, a reminder of why he fought. He couldn't let the corrupt forces win, not when so much was at stake.
Hope arrived in the form of a young, idealistic lawyer named Priya. She was a beacon of light in the darkness, her determination shining through her every action. Priya had a reputation for taking on the impossible, and Ravi's case was no different. She had heard whispers of Ravi's case, of the mechanic who dared to stand up to a corrupt officer. The story had spread, a tale of bravery in the face of overwhelming odds. Priya knew that this was a fight worth fighting.
Priya saw in Ravi a glimmer of hope, a chance to fight for justice in a city that had forgotten its meaning. She saw in him the strength to stand up against the corruption that had taken root, and she was determined to be the voice that would amplify his. She vowed to help him, her voice a beacon of hope in the suffocating darkness of his despair. Her passion was infectious, and for the first time in a long while, Ravi felt a flicker of hope.
And so, a new chapter began, with a flicker of hope in the darkness. The journey ahead was uncertain, fraught with challenges, but with Priya by his side, Ravi felt ready to face whatever came next. Together, they would fight for justice, and perhaps, just perhaps, they would bring light to a city shrouded in darkness.
Priya, working tirelessly, unearthed evidence of Bhardwaj's corruption. She discovered a pattern of extortion, intimidation, and violence. She reached out to journalists, activists, and ordinary citizens, her words igniting a long-dormant flame of outrage.
The story of Ravi Chaudhary, the mechanic who dared to defy a corrupt system, spread like wildfire. The city, once resigned to its fate, rose up in protest. People from all walks of life, shopkeepers, teachers, rickshaw drivers, housewives, took to the streets, their voices uniting in a deafening roar. They demanded justice for Ravi, their cries echoing through the concrete jungle. The public outcry, relentless and deafening, could no longer be ignored. The case, now a national scandal, attracted the attention of the Central Bureau of Investigation. The CBI, known for its integrity and impartiality, launched a full-scale investigation into Bhardwaj and his cronies. The evidence against Bhardwaj was overwhelming. His carefully constructed facade of power crumbled, revealing the corrupt underbelly of his reign. He was arrested, his reign of terror brought to an abrupt and ignominious end. His accomplices, their loyalty evaporating like mist in the morning sun, turned against him, eager to save themselves. After weeks of unjust imprisonment, Ravi was finally released. He emerged from the police station, his body bearing the scars of torture, but his spirit unbroken. He was greeted by a cheering crowd, their faces a sea of hope and admiration. They hailed him as a hero, their cheers a testament to the indomitable spirit of the human will.
Ravi, overwhelmed by emotion, raised his hand in gratitude. His ordeal had tested his faith in humanity, but the outpouring of support had restored it tenfold. He realized that his fight was not in vain. It had awakened something powerful within the people, a collective yearning for justice that even the darkest corruption could not extinguish.
Ravi's story is a testament to the power of courage in the face of adversity. It is a stark reminder that even in the darkest of times, a single voice raised against injustice can ignite a revolution. It underscores the power of unity, of ordinary people banding together to fight for what is right. The fall of Inspector Bardwaj sent a clear message. Tyranny, no matter how deeply entrenched, cannot withstand the might of a united populace. Ravi's story became a symbol of hope, a beacon of light in a city that had long been shrouded in darkness. It served as a potent reminder that even in a world where fear often reigns supreme, the human spirit, fueled by courage and united by a common cause, can overcome even the most daunting obstacles.